this right back, Charlie. Definitely.
There's always just that active and defending. I think it's like. There's always just that active and defending. I think it's like. There's always just that active and defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Man. Come on. As the man Ian Wright just said there, people, just like how we played yesterday, nothing's going right. People deluded, I'm back again. Obviously, hope you're all doing well and safe, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you're hitting the like button, you're commenting, you're subscribing, you're letting me know your post West Ham defeat thoughts and stuff like that. Twitch do the same. Make sure you're cross-following. As usual, good afternoon over in the United Kingdom. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. Appreciative of you lot tuned in. Now, I can't lie, man. I love making content with you lot, but I got 1-2 things to get off my chest before I feel a lot better. Now, watching the game again, having a good sleep, accepting the fact that we're out the cup and, you know, the way we played and whatnot. It is what it is. Congratulations to West Ham because they're through to the next round. They did everything their manager probably told them to do. And likewise, we didn't. You know, they made it difficult for us on top of us not turning up. Again, Mikel Arteta, I will say, you know, because you didn't take the League Cup seriously, you need to make sure there's something to celebrate in May, really and truly. I think it highlights the fact that we haven't added squad depth. Yes, we've brought in players, and if everybody's fit, keyword, if everyone's fit, yeah, there is. But I don't necessarily believe we've improved to the standard that we're talking about. It's more or less the similar thing. And I would say for Mikel Arteta, I think you've disrespected the cup. I think, to be honest, you had to rotate and play the players you did, but I think we've disrespected the cup. We need to go and beat Newcastle United to at least make some sense of this. You know, probably got too much trust in some players that, if I'm honest with you, they're not built for this. They're not built for this, you know, really and truly. They're really not built for this. There's some players that will give us purple patches. They might play when the sun's shining, but there's only certain amount of players that are reliable, if I'm honest with you. And yeah, that's my thing with the manager. The manager, I think you needed to bring on either Declan Rice or probably Tomiyasu at half time, like you did against Chelsea. That needed to happen. And I think it took too long to make them subs in the second half. They're the only things I can really criticize from Mikel Arteta, on top of, you know, his assembling of the squad. And it don't look good where midfield is concerned, especially the players. Some of you that don't play on a regular basis, you've shown why you don't play on a regular basis, really and truly. You've probably got, you know, Odegaard's on the pitch for 2 minutes, done a lot more than Vieira. Saka and Martinelli did a lot more than Nelson and Trossard. I'm being a bit harsh to them too, because in the first half they was all right, but certain players are not built for this. I think you overrate certain players, because certain players will let you down. You saw what, you know, that was Arsene Wenger's biggest strength and biggest weakness, in that he relies on people, he relies on players. When you've got real tugs like Vieira, Henry and that, and Tony Adams and whatnot, they'll repay you. When you've got cowards, which it kills me to call these players cowards, because I don't think you are, but ultimately you played like a bunch of cowards. You played like you were very cowardly yesterday, essentially. You disrespected the club, you disrespected yourself, you disrespected the gaffer, you disrespected fans all over the world that wake up at whatever o'clock to watch the game, and you disrespected the travelling fans. It was raining last night and it was raining goals for them. So that's it with Arteta. We got hammered by the hammers, you know. We met the iron fist from the irons, really. One thing I do hate is, you know, Arsenal fans are going to do this negative thing. Every player is public enemy number one and stuff like that. It's the same old. Like, I like Trossard, but you show me once again that I think you look better as a sub, as an impactor. You're not really a starting sort of player. Jorginho, I think he was good in the first half, and he's not the most leggiest of midfielders, but once he loses them little legs he's got, his peak, really. We know what we're in, and the fact that, respectfully to Jorginho, that we're now relying on you because, you know, we've only got Declan Rice now, I can't really get at the player. That is Mikel Arteta's assembling of this squad. Yes, injuries and whatnot happen, but we've seen this. Arteta has seen the last 2 years of what we've tried to go for fall because of injuries. You look at when we was fighting for the title, amongst other things, and you look at when we missed out to Spurs in the race of the Champions League. Ramsdale kicking Meady showed why Raya plays, but I'm not going to lie, watching the game again, I think Ramsdale's getting a bit too much stick. Now, if I'm honest, you know, you can see why for Raya, for all his criticisms, why he plays. I don't want to judge people, but the first goal, Ramsdale probably could have done better, but he is being pulled. The second one is people defending, if I'm honest with you, from everybody. And actually, in terms of pressing from the front, we're allowing that West Ham man to pick out a lovely pass. That was actually the one thing Zinchenko, I won't get at you for conceding the second because you was actually switched on. You're just not the guy defensively. If that's Tomiyasu, he heads it or he's a bit more switched on. It's a great pass and great play from Kudus. We shot ourselves in the foot. Everyone could have done better. And the third one's taking a deflection. It's a nonchalant header from Benjamin White. Only Declan Rice is trying to close the man down. Kyrio's turning his back. And Kyrio, I like you. You're still my guy. But I think the one couple players that were playing decent in the first half, it all deteriorated come the second, really. Zinchenko's a liability in games like that. I like Zinchenko. I'm not going to turn on you. I think there's a use for you. But this is why you weren't the main kind of guy at City anytime. And I do think early in the season you was defending relatively well. But Zinchenko's a liability. When we need to defend on our backs or against the wall, no one cares for this inverted centre mid crap. Like, you need to be able to be switched on defensively and strong in 1v1 duels and actually switched on, in which that's not a strength of Zinchenko's, and I don't think it will ever be. The first goal, the second goal, I allow Zinchenko a bit. The first one's terrible. Gabriel has to concede a corner because he's getting at you for not being switched on. And Zinchenko's a big boy now. You've been in the league for a long time. You're a big lad now. If I'm completely honest with you, you came out and you spoke with Rio Ferdinand and in Sky Sports and said, I know what I need to do and how I need to improve. Now, old habits die hard and it takes forever to install discipline. But I'm not seeing it really and truly. You're not someone that can be relied on like that away from home in games like that. And you let us down far too many times, really and truly. That's the best I've seen Kai Havertz play in an Arsenal shirt, from a start. But the bar's on the floor for Kai, rightly so. So again, I'm being harsh, but if I was a teammate of Kai Havertz and they watched the video and heard me just say that tells you everything as to how people played, essentially, people. Everyone, the fans are going to do this thing where everybody's crap now. Everyone's public enemy number one. We all win, lose and draw together. You've got the negative fans that do too much. And I think you've got the positive fans that do too much. People are sitting there saying, well, we've got Liverpool on the 23rd of December. We would have had to play this game 2 days before. Bro, do you want to be a team that excels to do things? Because there's no guarantee we're going to move to Liverpool. There's no guarantee that our players are going to be fit, really and truly. We want to be a team, and I'm not necessarily saying today, but we want to be a team that competes at the highest level for every competition there potentially is, just like any other team, really. What do you think the dynamics are going to look like? As I said, them ones doing the negative thing and them not doing the overly positive to the point where it's just positive BS, in my opinion. It's nonsense, really. We just have to hold our L, man. Honestly, you have to thank your blessings that this is coming the League Cup where, if we win it, it's the best thing ever. If we lose, we don't really care, which happened, because if this happened against Newcastle and all the games we've got to follow, it's peak, really and truly. Arteta, some of these men are not built for this. It's like bringing a good youth to a ride out and being upset that he snitched. It don't make no sense, really and truly. Fabio Vieira, I like you, but you, Trossard, Jorginho, a lot of you have shown why you're hot and cold. You're fair weather players. You can get a little run of games and do quite well. You can come off the bench and impact, but you're just not of the level currently required, man. And the second half, I don't know what was. I know Arteta's obviously told them to fix up, but what the flying F has happened in the 15 minutes? Because I could fairly assume, David Moyes told his players, you scored a goal, but you ain't had a shot on target. When the game became a bit open and we needed to win our individual and collective battles, we failed to do such. And that's the minimum of any football game. Be competitive. If we lost 3-1, but I can say, you know what? It is what it is. We go back to the drawing board. But the boys cheated themselves yesterday. Again, what is it? 45 seconds into that second half, they have a chance. You don't think alarm bells go ringing now? So then what happened to follow? The only thing we did well, Odegaard scored. At least there's something for the analytical department to go back and think about, really, because there's nothing else, really. Smash the like button and let me know your thoughts. It's a shambles. It was a shambles. It is a shambles. It's crazy, man. Like I said, Zinchenko a liability. Ramsdale, I don't think he was at fault for the goals, but you're not certified. Jorginho, you're not the guy. Half of the players that started are not players that really and truly we can move to a certain level. And Arteta's going to have to learn the hard way. Thank your lucky stars that it's happened now. And what I will say is that any player that thinks they've achieved anything at Arsenal Football Club, anyone that thinks that it's all happy days, any player that still had their head in the sky because of the Sheffield United game, effing wake up, because it's unacceptable. I don't care what competition it is. You don't play like that. That is our worst performance of the season. For a large part, doing the watch along until the second half, I thought people were saying it's our worst performance of the season, but I didn't believe it because I think Chelsea, that first half at the point, was the most terrible game I've seen. That is our worst performance. Again, you could probably throw, for me, Chelsea's in there, that's in there. The defeat to Lens was shambolic. That's the worst you lot have played. So count your blessings, pull up your big boy pants, and move forward to the Newcastle game. And beyond that, really, there's nothing more to be said. And obviously, what makes it a bit more jarring for us Arsenal fans is Thomas Partey, shock horror, is now injured. Gabriel Jesus has picked up another injury. It's come out with Emil Smith-Rowe. He's had a knock. But this is where he's going to have to learn the hard way. I think Tomiyasu's improved defensively, but there's been times he hasn't always been great. Tomiyasu has to come in for Newcastle and he needs to play in an extended period. Zinchenko needs to buck up his ideas. We're not Manchester City. You need to improve. I'm not asking for massive improvements, but just be a bit switched on. Football is about asking yourselves the right questions and forget the mistakes I've just spoken about with Zinchenko. From the minute that game kicked off, his passing, his passes, everything was off. Now, fair enough. If the man had a bad day, it happens in life, innit? It's horrible. But what we're doing is not sustainable. We've got players that should be on the peripheral / rotation options. We're trying to fight for the league with them and put them in first team regular spots. We ain't got no shooters up front. We're struggling in terms of midfield, and we're going to have to learn the hard way. Anyone that's cared to listen to me speak about Arsenal and whatnot on my YouTube channel, you always hear me say midfield. Edu needs to get on the phone and make sure there's a midfielder that arrives in January. But until then, we're going to have to buck up our ideas. It's a terrible day at the office, man, and it's unacceptable. The way you lot performed is unacceptable in every stretch of the imagination, man. Vieira just don't assert himself. I like Fabio Vieira. He's got a good technical level. You've shown you can do the super sub thing, but you need to go and eat some food. You keep saying another one. Same way Zinchenko said he trying to improve defensively. I've seen interviews. Fabio Vieira says he's going gym. You need to sack your personal trainer because what the hell? They're just taking your money. You're not improving. Man don't see you do stuff. Pardon me, people, yeah. And I've kind of fallen off from gym, yeah. But I'll guarantee you, for all this nonsense that Fabio Vieira talks about going gym, I promise you can't do that. I promise you can't puff out his pecs. So you need to go and do some stuff. And you need to, bro, Bukayo Saka needs to take him to his mum's yard, no English food, just all of that Nigerian stuff, and just get one, bro, because you don't assert yourself. If you was on this Bernardo Silva thing where he's not really physical, but he puts himself about, great. Honest to God, Arteta must have watched the Manchester derby. Now, fair enough, Fabio got an assist. He can turn around and say, shut up, DG. He's right. But Ten Hag should have taken off Rashford in that Manchester derby. It's the same school of thought. I don't know how Fabio Vieira got as many minutes as he did. And I like these players. I really do like these players. I don't think you're a bad bunch. I won't accuse you of not caring, but you played like you didn't care. You played like you weren't at it. You weren't competitive. We gotta go to. I was about to call it Upton Park. We gotta go London Stadium in the league. And you look clearly, fair enough, it was a League Cup game, but you didn't learn your lessons of being competitive and being switched on from last season. We've got to go there. We got to go Anfield. We got to go do all these things. And in life, until you learn the lessons life's teaching you, the lessons that it presents you will get harsher and harsher. We've been here before. I still think we could do something this season. I still believe in the gaffer and the players. I think you could all do a job, but some of you are just not built for it. Like, honestly, if your name is not Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, William Saliba, Gabriel, I'm probably missing out one Timber, even though you're injured. If your name's not them, and like I said, I'm missing out a couple names, you're not certified, in my opinion. There are, Gabriel Jesus, I got time for you. Don't know how to score, but I got time for you. And a couple other players as well. Tomiyasu, I got time for you, Jorginho, I like you. And it's got to the point where, but we know Jorginho's limitations, innit? The minute he loses, he gets a bit tired and the game gets a bit like that. We're overrun, really. So at what point as much as I praise Arteta for assembling the team, at what point do we look at the do we look at the gaffer's decisions? Because man are not playing themselves. As I said, I think Kai Havertz done a lot. That actually was all right yesterday, but that tells you the bar is on the floor, bro. The bar is on the floor. And as I said, for these teammates, if you're watching Arsenal social media people or whatever, and they're saying this about Kai Havertz, alarm bells should ring, man. Alarm bells should ring. It's appalling, bro. Like, it's appalling when man play like that. Also, can we agree Raya number one because he catches everything? Bro, Raya does bookie stuff. Ramsdale does bookie stuff. The next Alisson that comes on the scene, just buy that guy, isn't it, really? Same way Liverpool went and got Van Dijk for big money and Alisson, and that changed their system. Go and do that. It's as simple as that. I do think our depth has improved, but it's a sideward step. We always say if everyone's fit. On God's green earth in the Premier League is every single player of every single club fit? At the start of the season, cool. And Arteta's come out the other day and said, oh, yeah, players play with niggles and stuff. So that already makes it redundant, really. I always give the example, and ironically, it's November, about winter. Arsenal, it's like we know it's raining outside, we know it's windy, we know it's cold, we know that the temperature is going to drop later on in the day, but we're still stepping out there in a t-shirt and hoping, boy, you know what, it's all right now. If I just keep warm, it'll be okay. If it drops a couple more percentages, I'm in trouble. I hope it doesn't. Why don't we just have about 20 million jackets on so that we can take jackets off? We're in issues. I don't think we should have sold Emi Martinez either, man. As I said in the last one, you could argue he's better than both of them. I like Raya. I like Ramsdale. They're both in the same bracket. They're both bookie. Like, to be fair to Ramsdale, I think everything was shambolic. I think watching the game again, I don't really fault you at all of the goals. You could have done better, but I don't agree with the scapegoatism. But Ramsdale's bookie. Like, there's Declan Rice as well, another 31. There's not enough players in this team that I can look at for 10, 20 games and say, cool, regardless of the result, I know there's certain things you're going to give me. I love this team. We're building something special. We're assembling 1-2 parts. But I've always said it, definitely in this Emirates era, we love being a couple pennies short of a pound. You know, when it was Ozil, let's get a defensive. No, around that period, we've got a defensive mid. We need a 10. We get a 10. There's no defensive mid. We need a striker. We don't get a striker. You know, we get wingers. You don't have overlapping fullbacks. We always love being short. It's like we have a bread and there's no filler for the sandwich. Like, it's dead, really and truly. Some of our players were isolated, man, but we knew that's what West Ham were going to do. Like, they're going to double up against, man. Look how, even though Eddie Nketiah was crap, look how deep he's dropping. Look where Trossard is receiving the ball. And we don't have a way of playing against that. Yes, on occasion, we've shown against City, Sevilla, Chelsea, we can do this direct thing, but there's not that balance. We're very pretty side to side. And I'm not saying I diss that, you know, I like that. We're side to side. If we can't force it, we'll go down the other side. But there needs to be that healthy randomness. And these players don't take accountability, man. You know, in games we've probably won. As much as I like Mikel Arteta, I'd love to speak to the players. How many times has what we've tried to do in a game and what's actually happened gone wrong? And maybe Arteta's tweaked things and whatnot. But how many times have the players gone, let's do this, let's do that? I never saw no one taking responsibility yesterday, widely. You know, no one. Yeah, a couple of players tried, but we're a team. There's 11 players out there, however many much on the bench. I don't want to do too much, but it's like, again, if you say you don't care about the League Cup, that's your business, that's great. Again, I always say, I don't tell you what to think, just think. But for me, we ain't earned no right to be doing that. Yes, priorities can be placed elsewhere, but we ain't earned the right to be throwing things away. We don't know if we're going to win no Prem, which I don't know what the Champions League is saying. FA Cup is our cup. And if I'm honest with you, Mikel Arteta, big up to you for winning it. But I think we've been disgracing ourselves since we've won it. We need to fix up. And listen, I would love a striker. I think a striker, a right winger, 2 centre mids, and maybe even another defensive body as well, because there's no Saliba. We're in trouble. If you could get a right-sided centre back or something like that, I wouldn't mind it. You know, I think there's couple of roles, but centre mid has to be addressed. As I keep saying, look at our defensive options. Whatever you see about Zinchenko, there's a use for him. Timber, there's a use there. Boy, you're lucky, Zinchenko. It could have been peak for you. Benjamin White, Tomiyasu, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Kirio. Feel free if I've missed out any names, but you get the point. Raya and Ramsdale, fairly decent in the defensive third. In the attacking third, nothing to write home about, but you've got Eddie, you've got Jesus, you've got Martinelli and Saka, which definitely are. You've got 1-2 players. Midfield, who you got? Who have you got? Seriously, like, this is crazy. Like, if we're looking for a league title, and I hope we can be right, but we got no shooters up front. Now, you know, if it's not Eddie, it's probably Kai Havertz or the Trossard or Martinelli false nines, which can only work in certain games. Bro, look, it's a madness up there, you know. And the midfield, you know, ultimately football is decided in both boxes. We weren't efficient or effective in their box, and we weren't in ours, really. But it's played in the midfield. Who have we got? Declan Rice is the only man in that midfield that you could say, yeah, regardless of the weather, the tactics, whatever, there's a certain amount of consistency you can demand of him. And I'm talking about the pure centre mids. Jorginho, there's a role for you. You can come in and do 1-2 things, but Jorginho's not someone you can bet on. El Nene, I've got time for you, definitely with these injuries, but he's not an individual that we can be betting on, and he doesn't provide longevity. Partey's got the quality. I've got a video coming out later where I've spoken about Partey, Smith Rowe, and Jesus' injury, but honestly, are we going to keep wasting our time with this? I don't know why it keeps happening. I don't know why it keeps happening in training. Maybe he's been carrying that because there was a reluctance to bring Partey off the bench against Chelsea, I believe. I don't know. But all I know is Declan Rice, and don't get me started on the Congo. He doesn't even deserve it because he's not part of us this season. Yes, we've got Odegaard, Vieira, Smith Rowe, who's now injured, Kai Havertz. Their man can play midfield-ish. But realistic options that got in the lineup with Declan Rice behind Odegaard, for example, where are they? It's a dangerous game that we're playing, and I hope we can get through it. You know, they say that Partey's out for 5 weeks, so by Partey's logic, we're not seeing him until March. Jesus the same. But boy, we've made our bed. We got to lie in it, man. If we won't buy a striker and a DM in January, it'll be poor finishing and zero trophy. Trust Vieira needs some yard food ASAP. And the thing is, I like Vieira. There's very few players in that team that I don't like, even the ones that I've been very critical of. I don't think you're bad players. And I think you're nice people, but we're not here to make friends. We're here to try and win things. And what annoys me, we've now aroused Arsenal fans' imagination. We believe again as a football club, we're doing the right thing. So why are we going to take one step forward, 10 back, and then like we're shooting ourselves in the foot, man? And to be honest with you, we've made our bed. January can't come soon enough, but we can't sign anyone unless Patrick Vieira wants to leave management, get match fit, and he wants to play in the middle of the park. Because in fact, even him at 40 odd years of age probably would have done a lot better than people. You know, says Fabregas retired yet? You know, I know Nasri got punched up the last time he went to the Emirates, but you might as well get these lads in, man. Since we're playing like that, at least we'll see some basic competencies from certain individuals, man. Big up you lot, anyways. Keep your thoughts coming in. Big up yourself, Paul, for the super chat as well. Appreciate that. I'm going to be honest, DG. We was Bagel FC, a big hole in the middle from the starting lineup of Vieira, Jorginho, and Havertz. West Ham must have been happy. There you have it, Bagel FC. And the thing is, obviously, El Nene's been missing for 10, 11 months. So I don't know for his fitness. And Declan Rice is quality, but he's not Superman. Like, you can't expect him to keep doing everything. We don't have that dynamism and that athleticism in midfield. We can only play one way, and we have to hope it works. And that's with the ball, we can do our thing. But we're susceptible in the transition, as you saw. And we're going to keep having this same conversation. Why did Arsenal give Nelson a new contract instead of Kudus? I don't think it was as white and black as that. Probably couldn't even bring in a winger. I like Nelson, but brazy. Absolutely brazy. Thanks as always for the honest assessment and level-headed take on all things Arsenal. Appreciate that. I want people who aren't hungry for trophies. I need you to seriously stop trophies, get you more trophies. But if the boys were not on doing drills at the Emirates, then boy, the debate between Ryan Ramsdale is now settled. Ramsdale fails to command the box. He doesn't. But to be fair, you look at the dosh he had in front of him. It is what it is. Funny how it's always the same player's fault according to our brain-dead fans. Boy, it's crazy. Danny Ceballos in January, boy, and then he'll have a fight with Eddie Nketiah again, wouldn't he? It's jarring, man. It's jarring when you play like that. Again, losing and drawing, as much as I hate it, you can't win all the time, but it's nonsense. Like, when you play like that, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. Like, take nothing away from West Ham. They did well, but we defeated ourselves yesterday because you lot didn't. I don't know what you lot did in training. I don't know what you lot said in the tunnel. I don't know what you lot said to yourselves at half time, but I didn't see nothing. And I give, no one wants to go out there and lose on purpose. They're human. Sometimes things just go wrong. You just have a bad day. We need to move on. They are the excuses I will give you lot. But at the same time, how many times are we going to keep doing the same thing and being surprised? Like, again, every player has faults. I can't keep getting surprised that Zinchenko switched off defensively, or Jorginho's overran, or the bars on the floor for Kai Havertz, or Eddie Nketiah. Or 1 minute he's looking like Thierry Henry, the next minute he's looking like something mad, like Chunks or something. I don't know. Why did we buy Vieira? I wish I knew, man. I don't think he's a bad player, but I need people to stand up to be counted. Like, there has been, even Vieira is the best example. There's been times these players have been chomping at the bit and banging on the door to start, but you lot are not playing like players that genuinely want to give Mikel Arteta a headache. There's a massive divide in players that start for this football club and players. If you get game time, you get game time. I like Nelson. I think he was one of the better players. You're not talking to Saka in any stretch of the imagination. I'm a big fan of Trossard, but nobody can sit here and tell me Trossard is starting quality. I'm sorry. Like, he can get game time and get starts 100%. But if you was to look at Trossard's career at Arsenal so far, yes, there's been games he's played good off the bench. I mean, I'm starting, but he looks better as an impactor. And again, Trossard, Nelson, to a degree, Jorginho, Kirill, these were the players that were actually turning up in the first half, and then they reverted to type, really. Timber's going to be like a new signing, but you're going to have to give him time. Big up Timber, and that's the thing. You look at City when they won the treble, and you listen to what Pep Guardiola says. Obviously bringing in, at one point, they were a team that could score a whole load of goals. They brought in Haaland. They're laughing. But you look at what he said, with his defenders, and he said, being stronger 1v1 or in defensive duels, and you see that indirectly with Kyle Walker, who's been there forever, with John Stones in midfield, with Ake and Akanji. Arteta's going to get there. Zinchenko's got a role to play here, but it's now time to become a rotation option. It's very easy to say, Tomiyasu's the guy, because for me, he's improved in an attacking sense, and for me, right now, you are the guy. Sometimes you have to play the players that are in form, and Timber could be bad news for Zinchenko, but I think there's a role here. But You're not built for it. Arteta, I hear it. You know, we get these guys that are not the most important players in their teams currently, and we make them into that. But you've got to learn from Pep Guardiola. In fact, it's learn from yourself because you was there. Like, Zinchenko is not going to wake up and be a great defender. So you can still use him and utilize him. But you can't play week in, week out like this. Yeah, when the sun's shining at the Emirates and we're having a bunch of possession, yeah, I want to see Zinchenko. I don't really want to see Tomiyasu in that regard. You can do what you're doing. But anytime it's cold, it's time to stand up to be counted, bro. Zinchenko, you can't rely on him. And I'm surprised the camera didn't pan to him and he started crying. And I like Zinchenko. I got a lot of time for him. I'm not saying sell him or whatever. It's just being honest. We've got a very one-dimensional style of play. Generally, as I said, we show little elements when we're ready to, you know, pop it long and things, but there's no real balance. There's no real balance. Play Tomiyasu left back and Zinchenko or Trossard in the 8 role. Trossard bench, you know, Trossard forget the 8 roles. Zinchenko thing. If that is this difficult for Arteta since he really likes Havertz, why can't he play him as a number 9? With Havertz, do I really want to see Havertz probably look the best as a number 9, but really and truly, do man really want to see Havertz as a number 9? We might have to do it, and I'm not criticizing it, but do we really? I'm like, Arteta has to. I hope there's light at the end of the tunnel for this Kai Havertz thing. I really do. I hope we look back in a few months and say, boy, we gave up on him, whatever. But what is he? If he was 70, and again, I don't want to make this the Kai Havertz show, you know, because as poor as he might have been in an Arsenal shirt, I don't think he deserves that because you tried a lot, done some meaty things and the bars on the floor. But you put in way more of a shift than the vast majority of the players yesterday. But for 65 million, a German international, a Champions League winner, God knows however many career appearances he has. If he was 17, 18, I could hear this rhetoric. But what is he? Are you even people that say he's a centre mid, wholeheartedly you believe he's a centre mid? I think you're lying. Anyone that says he plays up front, wholeheartedly you believe he's a false 9. I think you're lying. You can tell me about this Leverkusen BS as a right centre mid, and I hear it, but it's irrelevant because you've been at Chelsea at them lot, and now you're at Arsenal Football Club. What are you? There's more questions than answers around midfield, and especially Kai Havertz. But I don't think he deserves to be the talking point. And I would love to ask Mikel Arteta, what is the reluctance to play Zinchenko as an 8? I'm not saying I'm for it, but I just want to know because Pep didn't do it. You're not doing it. Yes, he runs into midfield. What is it? On this upward trajectory, the same fate that saw Toney and Ramsdale become obsolete, that could happen to you, you know, that looking like it needs to happen to Zinchenko. I mean, do we really trust Zinchenko as a 6 in the Jorginho role? Like, really and truly, he's more dynamic, but do we really trust him in that low midfield role? Really and truly, wholeheartedly. When we have the ball, great. But Zinchenko switching off at fullback. And again, the second goal is the only thing I don't get onto Zinchenko about. Yes, you could have done better, but at least you was thinking. Sometimes you just have to hold your hands up. You know, the whole team could have done better. I'm more onto him for the mistake that led to the first. Forget Benjamin White's own goal and Ramsdale being pulled and all of that bollocks. Bro, you're not switched off. Gabriel has had to concede the corner. Go watch the game again. Gabriel is shouting at Toney. It's crazy. Partey injured twice. Jorginho, El Nene, who could leave next season. Smith Rowe, Odegaard. We are Saliba injury away from finishing 7th. I wouldn't go that far. Even Santi's welcome to come back. Newcastle's first string played well at Old Trafford. Our players should be doing better. Academy players would give a better performance. I hear it, man. Bro, I'm not on it, man. There's bare guys I don't like. I like all of these players, but there's bare dons I don't believe in. Like, I gotta be honest. Like, backs against the wall, must win. I think the mentality's changed. But who do you bet on in this team? Saka, Martinelli, Declan Rice. Not necessarily Jesus for goal scoring, but Jesus would be someone I bet on. Maybe I'm a fool, but I'd bet on Smith Rowe and Odegaard because I'm a Haaland guy and I like Odegaard. But even though in my heart, I know Odegaard's not a tug. Gabriel and Saliba, cool. You lot are with it. Ramsdale and Raya, I allow you lot and throw you lot into that. Ben White, you had a stinker yesterday, but I believe in you. Other than that, I'm scratching my head. And as I said, there's players I like. I like Trossard, but I don't know what I'm going to get. I think your thing is the super sub. I like Nelson, but if we rise up a striker and another winger, Eddie and Nelson might have to become obsolete in this team. They had the nerve to release merch today after last night's performance. They released merch. They still have to make money, Roger. Big up yourself, Terry, for your new shirt, man. False 9. Bro, I hear it. And, you know, Havertz has got a lot of height and things like that. But if you know, look how the goalkeeper role has changed, right? No matter how much we waffle about a goalkeeper's feet, you got to be able to catch a ball. We the same with defenders. The first thing we talk about in today's day and age as a centre about, what's his passing range? You still got to be able to defend. As a false 9, poacher, centre forward, false 9, fox in the box, whatever sort of striker you want, still got to put the ball in the back of the net. Havertz is less clinical than Gabriel Jesus. And if we're going to talk about working hard and things, weren't that what we're saying with Lacazette? Arteta's got to have to make the Havertz thing work. I honestly think Timber will end up taking White's spot. But if Timber was fit, it could have been bad news for Benjamin White. It could have been bad news for Zinchenko. But at least Benjamin White's fixing up his ideas. Eddie should have scored a brace. To be fair, there were more difficult chances than need be. But Eddie was poor. And he probably could have done better with the chances. But again, a handful of chances were created. Sometimes you're only going to get a handful of chances in a game. And you need to sit there and take them. But I felt, to a degree, as poor as he was, I felt sorry for Trossard and Eddie Nketiah. Trossard's picking up the ball like he's a left back. Eddie Nketiah is having to drop deep. You know, as Wenger used to say, you need to know your teammates. If Eddie Nketiah is a service-reliant, limited striker, then what he's able to give us, make sure he's able to give it. It's crazy, man. Got too many water carriers, man. They're nice guys. I like them all. They've all got roles to play, but it's now like, as I said, rotation players need to stay being rotation players. Stop trying to make Don's first team regulars because they will do well. We'll get some results. But when the going gets tough, when it gets to that stage, boy, you've seen what happened. All I would say is these boys, anyone that's messing about, get your act together immediately, because you think Newcastle are playing games. You think Newcastle's playing games? Our former Arsenal man, Joe Willock, he's scaring me going into that game because he loves scoring in big games. You know, he's a strong carrier of a ball. Doesn't seem like we have the personnel to stop him. As I said, Declan Rice is a great player, but he's not Superman. Like, you can't expect him to do everything. And the thing that makes me concerned now is with these injuries and the impact, you're now running the risk of other players getting injured because you're having to utilize them, really. And those of you that were part of my preview of the game, I wanted to go strong. Saka would have started for me. I hear it. People needed to get rested and things, but I would have started all of these guys, then wheeled them off, provided the game went the same way. So it was all for nothing, essentially, yesterday. We got battered. We're out the cup. Not a single positive beyond messing up the clean sheet. The first team, you know, obviously Arteta was always going to bring on Declan Rice against his old team, but in theory, away from that emotional attachment, you had to bring on Declan Rice, Odegaard, Martinelli, and Saka. So, yeah, they didn't play 90 minutes and they were rested to a point. But for what? There's nothing to take from yesterday, apart from why we lost that game, how we lost that game, and apply it better, essentially. Shame we didn't have Xhaka playing to break Paqueta's ankles. Bit harsh. I don't advocate breaking ankles, but at least Xhaka doesn't take BS. And I listen, I don't think any of these players are happy to lose and all of these things, but they played like it. It's crazy. I expect a midfield and a striker come Jan, if not 2 centre mids. For me, I can't look beyond centre mid. Just please. Anyone that's been following my channel for a while, I dream of a world where I don't keep having to waffle about Arsenal's centre mid options. I'm not saying everyone needs to be £105 million addition like Declan Rice. Provided they come with his quality, I would love it. But I'd love to sit here and say Declan Rice, another good 6, and 2 very decent 8s. Then by all means, the Smith Rowes, the Havertz, the Vieiras, the Odegaards, I'll tell you, you're free to do what you want with these guys. You can do whatever you want, ever you want. And for me, it's just like, bro, like the last 2 times we've gone to Upton Park, it's not even Upton Park, London Stadium, we've embarrassed ourselves. You know, at the end of the day, forgive me if I'm wrong, we still got to go Old Trafford, where we don't travel too well, regardless of United's form. We still got to go Anfield, still got to go Newcastle on Saturday. These players have got to, you know, they've got to step up. And as I said, Arteta made his bed, he's got to lie in it. You know, if I praise you for how you brought in this player and the system and that, so when things go wrong, it's down to you, innit? Granted, I'll give the club, I don't know what the club was doing in the transfer market. They could have very well tried to sign another centre mid, and I'll cut them a bit of slack, but it's a results-driven business. Did you win a game or did you not? Yeah, sometimes you might lose a game, you didn't, but ultimately on the board, it says you've won or lost. Did you get these signings in or not? Because we could all see, you know, and if you go back to my summer videos, like, obviously we signed Kai Havertz. I was genuinely believing that it would be a formality that another centre mid would follow Declan Rice. I genuinely thought that. But man, I want to hear about Lokonga, man. Lokonga, there's nothing you can do, man. There's nothing you could do for me, Lokonga. All you can do is, you know, is go to the Sun newspaper, do some panorama thing, and just hot up company about money laundering or something, because your deal stinks. Like, next year, Tory, that all stinks. Lokonga can't help me with nothing. I can't trust Icy Freeze with permed hair and that. You're not serious, man. Big up Gunapur again. Sorry, DG, we ain't beating Newcastle away on Saturday. I'm scared, but end of the day, life throws you lemons, make some Henny, innit? Like, stand up to be counted. Like, are we gonna... You have to try, innit? Like, Newcastle are scary. Eddie Howe's got them playing great, but we can't, like, there's nothing else to do. Big up my guy Roms, man, my Achilles. There's nothing else we could do, man. To be honest, DG, were 1 injury away from a mini disaster if Rice and Pease gets injured. Any team or system would be affected by key players being injured, but any team that's going to fall by the wayside with these injuries The foundations can't be that strong. The foundations that the house is brought on, it can't be that strong. And I've got no sympathy. I've got sympathy for the fans, but I don't, and I've got a lot of sympathies in general for Arteta, but I don't have any sympathies for any knock-on effect with injuries. You have seen this since the moment you've walked into the club. The last 2 years, you know, since we've somewhat been on an upward trajectory, when we lost out on top 4 to Spurs, when we lost out on the league, I don't think you can just look at injuries, but you have to look at injuries. How much time are you going to watch the same movie and hope for a new ending? It's insanity. We never bring up the price tag of Rice because he's good. Fabio and Havertz price get brought up all the time because they're not consistently good enough. There you have it. It doesn't matter if you bought a player for 100 million or £1. If they're not doing the business, then it's L's, and that's the problem. And, you know, Arteta knows more about football than me. So does Edu. This is how you lot assembled the team. Cool. You have to face the music, wherever this music is, essentially. So, yeah, man, the game's gone in it. Big up the Hammers. We got hammered, really. So let's just keep it moving and try to catch them on the rebound. Ivan Toney, Brentford want 100 million in January to sell England striker amid Premier League interest. Brentford value Ivan Toney at 100 million. They fully intend to keep him at least until the end of the season. So that tells you they're purposely pricing him out of a move. They know they're not going to get 100 million for him. He's got 18 months left on his deal. He'll have 12 months in the summer. He's got new agents. He's probably made it clear he doesn't want to move. We'll have to see. Apparently, the England striker is on the radar of most clubs in Europe, and Arsenal and Chelsea are interested. I mean, 100 million for Toney, then you might as well see what can be done for Osimhen or one of them kind of guys there. It's absolutely ridiculous, really and truly. All Arsenal could probably do is put the groundwork in from now so that in the summer, things can happen. Sky Sports understands it would take 100 million offer during those final 16 days of the window for Brentford to sell, and reports of a 50 to 60 million fee have been met with diversion, whatever that means, in the club's boardroom. Thomas Frank stated in the summer he believed Toney to be worth 100 million. Well, his contract's running up next season. This time next year, if he stays, it is what it is. So they can do that as much as they want. They know deep down they're not getting that. They probably want to hold on to him. Brentford are struggling by last season's contrast. Yeah, and to be honest with you, as much as I would take Toney, 50, 60, 100 million for a player that ain't played in 8 months and you don't know his physical condition, it's a risk. I'm pretty sure Chelsea, Arsenal, and anyone else linked with him, they would pull the trigger if they can in Jan. But maybe they'll sit there and say, you know what, let's see, a bit like with Pedro Neto, let's see when he comes back into the team what he brings to the table. Right, and to be honest, the striker market is horrible. So I guess Toney could do his thing, but it's a madman thing to be doing that. Apparently, he's ready to push for a January transfer after Arsenal and Chelsea hold talks, courtesy of 90 Minutes, people. Arsenal and Chelsea have both held talks with Toney's reps, and sources have confirmed to 90 Minutes that the 27-year-old is ready to try and push through a January transfer away from the G-Tech Community Stadium. As you know, he'll enter the final year and a half of his current deal in January. Hey, I think they've got until the summer to do their thing where he's concerned, if I'm honest with you. Pardon me, Romano has said, Ivan Toney is appreciated by Arsenal, that's for sure. The same is true for Chelsea. So I think the race is absolutely open. Nothing has been decided yet, so other clubs could join the race or make a bid. Nothing has been agreed with Brentford, so I would keep the situation open. For Arsenal, it would be important to see how they're doing in December, how they're doing in the Premier League table, how they're doing in the Champions League group. At the moment, there's no decision on what to do in January. I mean, come on now, like, we really... I'm not saying we know the players, but really every club is sitting there, or Arsenal is sitting there and saying, we don't know what we'd want to do in January. You really don't think Edu, Arteta, and the appropriate parties are not seeing what could be done in January, whatever position. I'm not saying that means you're going to move for someone, but really quite silly. They're discussing internally as always, but we'll see what happens because Toney won't come cheap. From what I'm told, he's likely to cost at least 65 million. So at the moment, Arsenal want to take their time to decide if this is a player they really want. Fair enough, man. What can you say there? Partey's been nominated for African Footballer of the Year. How you managed to do that and you ain't played? Crazy. Mikel Arteta said he's worried by Smith Rowe's injury. He said, we have an issue with him. He felt something in his knee and started to feel some pain after the game. So that's in the aftermath of the Sheffield United game. We're assessing him, but a bit worried with him, which is crazy. With Jesus, I'm honestly not going to give a timeline. I did it once and got it totally wrong. We need to be cautious because we need to treat it in the right way. He's already pushing everyone and wants to be back as quickly as possible, and we need him. Fair enough. On Partey said, I think that he'll be out for weeks. So out of all three, very specific. I think it's a big concern because when Thomas is fit and available, he's been part of the team. We've seen what the results and the impact that he's had on the team. I'll find someone else that could do it, man, because it's getting long now. Liverpool have taken a serious step towards the signing of Fluminense midfielder and Arsenal target Andre. As I said, I think they've done the groundwork. They're going to go and get, man. Doesn't matter if Edu's a Brazilian and he's connected in his homeland. you can make a case of, ironically, another Brazilian at Liverpool, there's a ready-made spot for you. Yeah, they got Szoboszlai, McAllister, and all them guys, but no one's a 6. There's a 6 like you. I'm not saying Arsenal's not an attractive club for him, but it makes sense. It'll cost the 22-year-old allegedly has got an exit clause of 35 million. So just find a new target. We've gone over Smith Rowe. We've been linked with Benjamin Sesko once again, as you lot would have seen yesterday, people. He's a 20-year-old striker currently at Leipzig after joining from Salzburg in 2022. Wouldn't mind him at all, people. He's got 6 goals in 13 games, but there is a lot of real elements in his game. Apparently, Arsenal have joined Spurs in the race to sign Germany and Bayern Leverkusen sensation Wirtz, the 20-year-old's done very well under Xabi Alonso. Hopefully, Xhaka could be gassing him up, but he's done very well since coming back from an ACL. Really, as I think he got that like 18, can play out wide, can play as a 10, probably long term could play as an 8. Like him a lot, but he's going to cost a lot of money, really. And the Euros is in Germany, and you'd imagine he keeps this up, he's getting selected. Would love him. Apparently, City are admirers. Everybody around the world is probably looking at him, people. I'm not going to lie. This is the first time. Big up you lot, but I don't care enough. Big up Arteta's post-game comments and Jorginho's. Big up Declan. I don't really care to read it. Like, I don't want to hear it from anybody, really. We lost the game. Nothing you can say. No with the injuries. Declan Rice has been nominated for Player of the Month. Let's vote for him at least. Nketiah has been nominated for Goal of the Month. Let's get it for him. Arteta has been nominated for Manager of the Month. So let's see what could be done in that regards. Mikel Arteta claims Arsenal players ignored West Ham warning before the cup game, people. Let's see. I'm very disappointed with the result and the performance, and I'm responsible for that. My manager taking the blame. Stop protecting these pussycats, man. I tried to warn them for 48 hours that today was about how you're going to compete in these games, and in the Carabao Cup away from home, we haven't done that well. Who don't hear must feel, as Nani always said. R.I.P. But anyways, obviously the game started pretty well for us. We had total control. Possession is 9/10 of the game, but what you do with it makes the difference. But the goal changes a lot of things. Yeah, it changed a lot of things. But at 1-0, I was somewhat confident that the game's not done. It's that 5 to 15 minutes in that second half. And for you, Arteta, it's not making a change like in the Chelsea game of bringing on Tomiyasu. So obviously it's easy for me as an armchair expert to sit here and say, but that's what I believe. Yeah, I didn't think it was a goal. It's not an excuse for the rest of the performance. VAR can't save us. For sure, we have to use the pain that we felt today to make sure that we're on our best again on Saturday, because that's what's going to be required to win. But it's also a good experience to feel the pain when we're not at our best. The performance has to be very different to compete and to win the right to win the game. Fair enough. And then he said, people, some of them were competing, some were duels, 50-50s, but a lot of the giveaways we have in areas that we didn't allow us in any moment to be a threat in the final third. And that's something we have to improve dramatically from today. Fair enough. He said some players haven't had many minutes. It wasn't to do it straight away in the first game. In a different conversation surrounded by players that haven't started is not a fair assessment. But that's something that is further from the assessment, is about doing certain things that have to be required to win a football match, especially when you play away from home against West Ham. And today we haven't done that. And some of you were there when we effed it up last season. So got little to no excuses, man. I don't want to hear it. Like, just the best apology is change behavior, innit? Change it then. Just recall a Congo. He can hold it down for a few games. Can't recall him till January. He's injured, and quite frankly, he's crap. So let's forget about it. You can't be an Arsenal fan. I'd be a millionaire every time DG mentioned midfield. Then yeah, you can put your millions together and go buy a midfielder for us. DG, would you try out play Newcastle with Jorginho, Zini, and Vieira, or look to go pound for pound with them? I don't know if you can go pound for pound with Havertz, but I would play Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu, your first name on the team sheet if I'm Mikel Arteta for that game. Midfield is techie. To be fair, Jorginho and Zinchenko played very well last season against Newcastle. Not that means anything. I think it might even, it kills me to say it, but like games like that, you might as well run Odegaard, El Nene, and Declan Rice. But then again, you don't have enough. Well, Jorginho could come on to kind of see out the game. Like, that is the closest thing that we have to somewhat being combative and physical in midfield, if I'm completely honest. I don't think Newcastle's the game to be trying things. Brentford knows Arsenal and Chelsea are desperate. We might be desperate, but I wouldn't say necessarily desperate for Ivan Toney. DG, now because of decisions made by Arteta yesterday, the vibes are negative going into the next match. It's not the loss, it's the manner of the loss. It is the manner of the loss, but they shouldn't all be negative. Not all hope is lost. We talk about that game and we go forward and try and do better, man. I don't want Jorginho in the stadium on Saturday. Bit harsh because we ain't got no one else, really and truly, if I'm completely honest. Like, we're gonna need him. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. So yeah, man, we just have to hold our L and go again. There's literally nothing else to be said on that, man. And on that note, people, there's no point wasting any more of your time. Make sure your notification bells are on YouTube, because there's a couple videos to come out from myself. Appreciative to you lot hearing me, you know, just provide a therapy session, and likewise you lot provide me with therapy, your talking points, your super chats and all of that stuff. Enjoy what's left of your morning, day, afternoon or evening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Again, in relation to Saturday, I think we kick off at 5:30, so I'll be live from 4:30 to do a watch along, man. Peace.
There's always just that active red flag, defenders. I think it's like